The story of the black suit. Well, to talk about this costume, you first have to tell the real origin. The original creator of the symbiotic suit or black suit was a fan. His name is Randy Schweller. He was a participant in Marvel contest to find new talents. He sent his concept of a story where Spider-Man got a new suit. This was a completely black suit with a red spider on the chest that extends to the back. This suit would be created by Reed Richards of the same unstable molecules that were created the costume of the Fantastic Four. These molecules would flow through Peter's pores and increase his grip on the walls. The web throwers would work with the same technology that Tony Stark uses to control his armor. Peter should only think what kind of web he wants to throw and the suit would do it for him. When the movie Spider-Man 3 premiered, it was revealed that the creator of the black suit was Randy Schweller, a fan of Spider-Man. He sent Sam Raimi, director of that film, a copy of the letter where Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief, buys the design of the black suit for $220. That letter has the official Marvel letterhead. In the film, they tried to use the original design of the suit that appears in the comics, but it was discarded and the one already known by everyone was used. In the comics, the black suit of Spider-Man is basically a symbiote that adhered to his original costume. This happened in the comic book Secret Wars 8. The Spidey suit was the mage, and when his sister arrived with his cloak and his hat, he asked how he recovered them, since Thor had lost them fighting against Dr. Doom, Ultron, Dr. Octopus, Kent, and other enemies. And he tells him that Hulk discovered a wonderful machine that made them. Hulk tells Spidey to enter the room and inside the machine just think what he wants and the machine will create it for him. When he enters the room, sits in the machine and concentrates to get a new suit. In return, receives a black sphere that adheres to him, starting with his hand and ends up covering his body completely. Spider-Man was thinking about the Spider-Woman costume at the moment of entering the machine, and since the symbiotes mentally unite with their guest, he read the thoughts of Spidey and made him a similar suit, a completely black suit, with a large white spider on the chest that extends to the back. The suit is able to rebuild instantly, and can make cobweb from itself or throw it when Peter thinks about it. Now Spider-Man is ready to help the other heroes to fight against Galactus to prevent it from destroying the planet Battleworld. Chronologically, this is the first time that Spidey comes in contact with the symbiote, but the first appearances of the black suit were in 3 comics launched simultaneously in May of 1984. In that same month, the first Secret Wars comic was released. These comics tell the story that happens right after the Secret Wars. The comics are obviously linked, like all Marvel stories, they happen simultaneously. Well, now I'll tell you quickly and chronologically the history of the black suit. Secret Wars 8. Peter tries to fix his red and blue custom suit that was the mage in battle. Hulk tells him that a machine can make him a new suit, but Spidey uses a different machine than the one he should use, and gets the symbiote that becomes his black suit. The Amazing Spider-Man 152. Peter in his black suit and the Avengers return to Earth. After a moment in his apartment, Peter goes for food. Black Cat can find it there and thinks he's still missing. The Spectacular Spider-Man 90. Black Cat looks for Peter in several places that he usually frequents. She looks for him in the office of Captain Jean the Wolf, in the Daily Bugle, asks about Spidey to the Avengers, and looks for him in Aunt May's pension. Then she is resting in a tree near Aunt May's pension. She is thinking whether or not to tell Peter about his powers when suddenly he arrives and surprises her with his new suit. Marvel Team Up 141. Daredevil and Spider-Man meet for the first time after Spidey and the Avengers have returned to Earth since his disappearance. And Peter is angry at the way Matt solved the case in which the two work, because he made an agreement with Kingpin to achieve it. The Spectacular Spider-Man 94 and 95. Peter calls Felicia to see her, because they have a lot to talk about. Peter, on the way to Felicia's apartment, meets Silvermane. They fight and Spidey gets hurt. With difficulties, he manages to arrive with Black Cat. He tells her that they must find Cloak and Dagger to defeat Silvermane. Then Cat takes him to his apartment and he makes her promise that she will not look for Silvermane on her own. Peter falls asleep and Cat leaves. The symbiote takes advantage of Peter sleeping and takes him asleep swinging around the city. Felicia sees him, gets angry and goes looking for Silvermane on her own. The Amazing Spider-Man 255. Peter is exhausted after the adventures he had with Captain Marvel and Star Fox. That happens in Marvel Team Up 142 and 143. He washes the black suit, eats something, goes to sleep, and when he is completely asleep, the black suit takes him around the city again. The Amazing Spider-Man 256. Peter catches some criminals with Black Cat, then they say goodbye with a kiss and Peter goes to his apartment. He's very tired and thinks he never gets enough sleep. The symbiotic suit just waits for Peter to go into a deep sleep and he takes him asleep again. The Amazing Spider-Man 258. Mary Jane tells Peter that she always knew that he was Spider-Man, and while she revealed that, Black Cat came through the window, confirming what MJ was thinking. After a tense moment, Peter is just sitting in his chair thinking how to talk to Mary Jane after these situations and falls asleep. The symbiotic suit again takes Peter to swing around the city. The moment Peter wakes up from the nightmare that always causes actions of the symbiote, he sees that the suit moves, and because he has been doing many strange things and sleeping all day lately, decides that he should stop living that way, and the first thing that goes to do is go with Reed to analyze the alien suit. When they analyze the suit, they discover that he is alive, and Peter managed to get it out thanks to a sonic weapon that Mr. Fantastic uses, and then Johnny catches the symbiote in a circle of fire. Spidey was left without the suit, so Johnny helps him by giving him an old costume from the Fantastic Four, and Peter puts it back on his head to hide his identity. After suffering a whale like the bombastic Bagman, he returns to his apartment and Mary Jane arrives to talk him. In the final panels of the comic, the symbiote is shown to take revenge. The Spectacular Spider-Man 96. Peter goes back to using his old costume, and again, there are final panels in the comic where it shows that the symbiote plans to take revenge. The Spectacular Spider-Man 97. Peter remembers how they helped him take off the symbiote, and Johnny, in the Baxter building, thinks that the alien ran away but was really only hiding in the top of his prison. Reed managed to stop him before he frees him by accident. The Amazing Spider-Man 259. Reed experiments with the symbiote. He thinks that the creature has a certain level of intelligence. He talks about it with She-Hulk, and she makes a joke telling him, "Give me a break, then you will tell me that the creature can have emotions like love or hate." The Amazing Spider-Man 260. Reed's son is going to retrieve the ball that was trapped by the laboratory and is scared to see the symbiote. The symbiote tries to control his mind, his young will. But then, even as the entity increases his mental assault, certain psychic barriers begin to crumble, to fail, and suddenly the entity senses something being released within the boy, something horrible and uncontrollable. The boy simply goes with his mother and tells her that he has headache. Does some unnamed piece of laboratory equipment choose to whom at that precise moment? Or does the alien entity breathe an audible sigh of relief as young Franklin Richards is led away? Only time will tell. The Amazing Spider-Man 261 and Fantastic Four 274. The symbiote escapes. The entity, which had been Spider-Man's living costume, stirs as if from a restless sleep. It senses a puzzling anomaly. An intruder has breached Fantastic Four headquarters. Having already bypassed 100 alarm sensors, the strange device has glided on a seemingly random path through the desert building, eventually arriving here. Cautiously, the entity telepathically reaches out to the hovering device. The entity's mental entreaties apparently have no effect, but the device that deem it worthy of further study. A micro drill begins boring an invisible small hole in the entity's plastic cylinder. And then, instantly seizing this unexpected opportunity, the entity bursts forward. At last, at long last, it is free again. Free! And let Spider-Man beware. The Spectacular Spider-Man 98. The symbiote is roaming the streets. Meanwhile, Peter has a conversation with Black Cat that makes me understand why he has been so tired lately. Now he understands that the symbiote took him around the city without him knowing it. The Spectacular Spider-Man 99. Cat made a new black suit for Peter, but he doesn't accept it because of what happened with the symbiote and told her that he would use it when he stopped being restless with that situation. Meanwhile, the symbiote controls a photographer who passed through the Baxter building to be able to go to Peter's apartment and collect revenge. The Spectacular Spider-Man 100. The symbiote arrives at the building where Peter lives, leaves the photographer lying in the garbage of an alley, goes up to the top of the building, enters Peter's apartment and enters the closet where the Spider-Man suits are. Web of Spider-Man 1. The symbiote is inside Peter's closet and changes its appearance by one of the red and blue suits. Peter puts it on, then realizes it is the symbiote and tries to take it to the Baxter building to lock it again, but the symbiote resists. On the way they meet the Volturians, and Spidey fight with one of them until they reach the bell tower of a church. Due to the sound of the bell, he managed to take off the symbiote. Peter is very hurt. The symbiote doesn't let him die, heals him, and they separate again. Automatically, the symbiote finds Eddie Brock in that church. The Amazing Spider-Man 263. Peter forgets his red and blue suit soaking and has to wear the black suit that Black Cat made him. After this, it begins to intersperse between both suits, although it uses more the black suit. The Amazing Spider-Man 289. The black suit was destroyed when it started to burn due to an explosion while Peter was fighting with the Hobgoblin, and then Felicia gives him the other 3 black suits she made him. Web of Spider-Man 18. A stranger pushes Peter to the train track. The people on the platform help him to climb, and he wonders why his arachnid sense did not warn him about the danger. In The Amazing Spider-Man 388, it is known that the one who pushes him is Eddie Brock. Web of Spider-Man 24. Peter was in a casino with Aunt May for a weekend of relax, and while they leave the place, the arachnid sense warns Peter of someone in danger in a building, and he will go to save him. At that moment, a black arm comes out from a window that catches Peter's foot and makes him fall. When he manages to grab hold of the building, he wonders why his arachnid sense failed again, as when someone pushed him to the train tracks. But more important is, who is behind these attacks? Again, in The Amazing Spider-Man 388, it is revealed that Venom is responsible for this. The Amazing Spider-Man 298. Eddie looks vengefully at the Spider-Man's newspaper clippings, saying that Spidey ruined his life, so he will do the same to him very, very soon. The Amazing Spider-Man 299 and 300. Mary Jane arrives at the apartment where she lives with Peter, and when she enters, she meets Venom. She starts talking to him because she thinks it is Peter, and when Venom responds, she gets scared. The moment Peter arrives, Mary Jane tells him to walk away because she thinks it's the same guy that scared her. That's because Peter was wearing the black suit, and she only recognizes it when he takes off his mask. They talk about what happened and decide to go to sleep at a hotel because Mary Jane can spend the night there because of the fear she has. Peter thinks before sleeping who could have been the intruder in his apartment, and because of the descriptions of MJ, believes that it is about his old costume. Upon awakening, MJ tells that she managed to be the first on the waiting list for a much larger new apartment. So she asks him to take some pictures when they go to see the new apartment to see the before and after. Peter is going to pack all the things in the old apartment and also to grab his camera. When he goes out, he feels that someone is following him, but he thinks, I couldn't be in any danger or my spider sense would warn me, but somehow I almost feel like I'm being followed. The one who is following him is Eddie. Peter gets into an alley, dresses in Spider-Man, and when Brock arrives, Pete had disappeared because he went swinging to the new apartment to take the pictures that MJ asked him. Well, so as not to waste time, I'll tell you quickly. Then he has a dinner with Aunt May. Then with the help of some acquaintances and friends, they begin the move to their new home. Then at the little party for his new home, Peter takes a soda on the balcony with Bob, his editor-in-chief for the Daily Bugle, and sees Venom swing around the city, so he disappears to go look for him and takes the sonic weapon that Fred used against the symbiote. Then Spidey enters through the window and Venom throws him towards the wall and Spidey falls to the ground. Then Venom tells his story to Spidey. Then Spidey fights against Venom and uses the sonic weapon to separate the symbiote from Brock, but they are completely one, and if he's still using the weapon, he will kill Eddie. So when Spidey is leaving the place to think about a new plan, Venom catches him with a cobweb and knocks him out. When Spidey awakens, he is tied to the belt where he took off the symbiote. Spidey manages to escape, defeats Venom, takes him to the Boxer Tower, and locks him up to control him in a similar prison from which the symbiote had escaped. When Peter arrives at the new apartment, he apologizes to MJ for his disappearance. He tells her that he needs the photos for his work. And when he disappeared, he was talking to his boss and could suspect his identity as Spider-Man. She tells him that is not what bothers her. She's grateful that he is fine but can't continue living near that, referring to the black suit. Peter says, "Yeah, I know what you mean. Wearing the same outfit as the homicidal maniac doesn't thrill me either," and burn the suit. MJ tells him that he can use the suit he had bought in Germany. That happens in the comic book Spider-Man vs. Wolverine. It's a commercial copy of the original Spider-Man costume, and although it is of poor quality, it looks like an old friend. And Peter says, "You are the greatest." So the legend begins anew. Remember guys, Mr. Deadpool should get every step in their lives. Never forget him and he will never forget you. That's what I did.